Paulo Bernardo is reportedly on his way to Celtic, but will his fellow midfielder Matt O'Reilly still be there by the time he arrives, as Juventus are the next team supposedly interested in securing Celtic's top player? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football, and it would appear that Paulo Bernardo is getting ever closer to his permanent Celtic switch. We've seen delays pretty much all summer. Why hasn't this deal happened yet? And it looks like it is solely down to money. It's going to happen, but Celtic just want to try and get Bernardo for as cheap as possible. And that's fair enough. That makes sense. Why would Celtic want to overspend on Bernardo if they think they can possibly get him cheaper? As for Benfica, they're holding it because they want to try and maximise the amount of money that they can get for him. So right now, it's basically a tug-of-war when it comes to the finances. You've got Benfica pulling in one way, and then Celtic are obviously pulling in the other way. But the Daily Records have said that Paulo Bernardo is reportedly on his way to Celtic as he nears a permanent move from Benfica. Bernardo spent last season on loan, as we know. There was an option to buy in the player's loan contract for a fee in the region of £6 million. Record Sport has revealed that Benfica had been keen to stick to that figure for the 22-year-old, but it appears Celtic have negotiated the price tag down, which I think makes sense for Celtic. £6 million is quite a lot for a player that, in my opinion, didn't necessarily, set the league alight. I think he was a decent player for Celtic, but was he £6 million decent? I don't know. If you compare him with someone else that cost that region, Jota, then no, I think Bernardo wasn't really up to that standard. To be honest, it's kind of a similar situation to Adam Adea. Celtic want both players. They're just reluctant to pay the amount of money that the parent clubs want. Now, Portuguese sporting news website Abola report that the playmaker is on his way to the hoops, with Brendan Rodgers in the midst of ramping up his pre-season plans. The Parkhead squad will jet off to America to face Manchester City, DC United and Chelsea, and it is claimed that both Celtic and Benfica are finishing the details of Bernardo's switch to Glasgow. The final agreement is expected to be below the £6 million demanded in the loan deal initially. It is claimed that the Eagles want to keep at least half of Bernardo's future transfer fee while talks remain ongoing. And it appears where that might be where Celtic need to take the hit. If they can get Bernardo for cheaper than £6 million, then good for them, but they might lose out in the future if they're able to sell him on, especially if Benfica want to negotiate the future transfer fee with Celtic. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways. If Celtic want to get a cheaper transfer fee for Bernardo, then it probably means that they're going to have to give Benfica something in return in terms of future fees and sell-on fees and stuff like that. So, yeah, it looks like it is going to happen, but it's going to be below the £6 million. I doubt it's going to be that much below. I mean, maybe, £5 million? I'd be shocked if it's any lower than that. 4.5. I'd say 4 million at the absolute lowest. I just don't really see Celtic managing to negotiate that much off of Bernardo's transfer fee. But again, if they can compensate with the future transfer fee, the sell-on fees, then Benfica might actually be able to make more than £6 million, depending on what kind of deal they get. But it's very possible that Benfica could sell Bernardo for, say, 5 million, and then if he goes on to have a good Celtic career, and if Celtic end up selling Bernardo to a similar, club level price that Matt O'Reilly's being touted at right now, then Benfica could actually, in the long run, make more than £6 million. So it might actually be worth it for Benfica to just be willing to negotiate, accept a little bit less in the transfer, but make it back long term. Speaking of Matt O'Reilly, yes, Matt O'Reilly, lots of big clubs have come in for him so far, but no club, in my opinion, bigger than Juventus, and they are apparently the next club interested in him, according to Italian news outlet Tuttosport. So Tuttosport are running on their back page that Juve are interested in Celtic playmaker Matt O'Riley over a potential move. Now, we know that recently Matt O'Riley has had a lot of interest from clubs down south in England and also abroad. I believe Atlanta are the latest club to actually come in with a concrete bid, but that was rejected, and it looks like it was about halfway short of what Celtic want, which appears to be a record club fee. So they want £30 million for Matt O'Riley, or potentially even more than that. Tuttosport, though, believe that Juve are gearing up to launch a bid, and they want Matt O'Riley to be at their club for the 2024-2025 season. So, yeah, Juventus then, the latest club that are showing interest in O'Riley. Will they be willing to pay $30 million for O'Riley? I mean, who knows? It's a lot of money. It's a big risk for a player that, I mean, let's be honest, has only really performed in the Scottish Premiership. The guy in the Champions League didn't really stand out. You know, he didn't have that many good standout performances. There's not many. Where's the examples of him dragging Celtic to important wins against big teams? You know, it's just not really there. He's performed well for a couple of seasons in the Scottish Premiership, but again, in Europe, he didn't really do anything. He didn't get selected for the Denmark squad, so he didn't go to the Euros, and I think that Celtic wanting $30 million plus for Matt O'Riley, that to me is, I think it's too much. I'm not sure that they'll get that. I think similar to Bernardo, if they can maybe accept less than $30 million, but get some sort of future transfer fee in there, so a sell-on fee. Because if Matt O'Riley leaves Celtic, and let's say he goes to like a big club, but not a big club, but if he goes to a big club and he performs, then in 2 years' time, you could be seeing him make a move similar to, let's say, Virgil van Dijk, where he went from Celtic to Southampton, performed well at Southampton, then got the big move to Liverpool. Something like that could be happening to Matt O'Riley, and if they can agree a transfer future fee, then they might be able to make a lot more money. I think currently with Jeremy Frimpong, I believe Celtic have got 33% on him, and you know he's always been talked about as a £50 million move. So Celtic are always, I believe, getting roughly 12 to 17 million if Jeremy Frimpong moves for around that amount of money. So that could be what they do with Matt O'Riley. They could accept less money for him, but get a really good future fee agreed and then profit that way. So yeah, I think that's the way the Scottish clubs need to do it. Realistically, Scottish clubs aren't going to be able to get 30 million, 35 million, 40 million for players that have only really performed domestically. However, if they get the future fees and the sell-on fees, if they get that sorted, if they get that right, then you can make a shitload of money if the player that you sell in a few years' time goes on to one of the top-tier clubs, like a Juve or an AC or, you know, Barca, Real, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, you know, PSG, whatever. So I think that's probably the way forward for Celtic. But outright just selling him to a club right now, I don't think they'll get 30 plus million, but we'll see what happens, guys. And could that be another thing that Celtic are currently waiting on? Could they be waiting on O'Riley leaving before they get Bernardo? Maybe they don't want to bring in Bernardo if Matt O'Riley doesn't go. Possibly. Could be that, but if you wait too long, then you risk losing out on Bernardo altogether. But I think Celtic fans would be happy if they missed out on Bernardo if it meant that Matt O'Riley stayed. So it's like a win-win. If O'Riley goes, Celtic get a lot of money and they'll bring in Bernardo. If O'Riley doesn't go, then they might not bring in Bernardo, but they might bring in Bernardo anyway. And then they've got, you know, an even more stacked midfield. So I think Celtic are going to come out of this smelling of roses. Just depends whether they'll have Bernardo and Matt O'Riley, or just one of them, or both of them. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, as things stand right now, looks like Celtic are going to get Bernardo for less than the 6 million that Benfica originally wanted, and Juve are the latest club to show interest in Matt O'Riley, but there's no sign that they are willing to pay the 30 million that Celtic want. Anyway, guys, let us know down below. What do you think Matt O'Reilly's worth? Let's just put it out there in the comments. How much money do you honestly believe Matt O'Reilly is worth? I'm not talking about what he can do in the future. We're talking about what he's done right now. What has he earned in terms of a transfer value? What do you think Matt O'Reilly's worth? I personally don't think he deserves to go for more than Kieran Tierney. I'd say about 20 million is about right for Matt O'Reilly. I don't see 30 million plus, but maybe you disagree. Maybe some of you think that he should be the highest paid player to leave Scotland. So, yeah, let us know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, been Fog Football. Thanks for watching, and peace.